Welcome to episode 411 Gaming Outsiders. On this week's episode, CB and Zack join me to talk about our favorite heroes in the video game industry, whether that be developers, PR, journalists, podcasters, or streamers. In news, there was a huge acquisition made this week that's a little scary, to be honest. Also, Kevin stops by to tell us his experience with a fun-looking arcade game called Smash Boats, and then you'll hear CB and I talk about a game called Curse to Golf, and CB also played a game called Tilesweeper. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 411 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. It's Sunday, August 21st. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my good friends, Zack Parkerson. What's up, man?
Hey, good to be here. The ever-rotating cast of The Gaming Outsider, it seems.
Yeah, well, everybody's got weird schedules, so we just have to keep rotating it and to make it work each week. Also joining us, Mr. Chris Behrensmeyer. What's up, Chris?
I'm tired, man.
I am a little too. We moved some gaming stuff today, and it's been a long day.
Glad to have you guys at your best.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm still cock-locked and ready to rock, man.
Wow.
But
Colorful.
it's just it was a lot of video game trash.
Yeah. CB and I are in the middle of a project, that store that is liquidating their old merchandise. We moved, I'd say about half of it over to...
I'd say about 2/3.
We moved it to CB's garage today so that we can start organizing it and testing it and hopefully selling it for the owner. So,
because who needs 150 Xbox 360 power bricks?
And the funny thing is that's probably an underestimation. Seriously, it's just insane how much stuff is there.
That's so funny. There was such a hot rush of power bricks when I worked at GameStop. There was a time where just trading in the power brick on its own would get you as much trade credit as a 360 in its entirety. I don't know what's that.
That's why
it's so weird.
I'm baffled.
Yeah, mystifying.
Also, what is there, about 30 or 40 Guitar Hero guitars?
Or the 30 or 40 Dance Dance Revolution pads?
Yeah, there's just so much stuff that I just don't even know if we'll ever be able to sell it.
Is there any actual good stuff, like consoles or anything?
We found 3 360s.
Okay.
There's a couple PS3s. Yeah.
Did
you find an Atari 400 today or something?
Found an Atari 400, a ColecoVision, a TurboGrafx.
Yeah,
a couple of little gems.
Not to barter on the show, but let me know if those PS3s work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. They're the big old fatties, but they're not the backwards compatible.
That's fine. There's a lot of PS3 games I can't play right now because my PS3 is gone in the wind.
Oh.
I'm sure we can hook you up, man.
Yeah, I can probably find something for you.
All right.
We even found because it was a repair center too, so they've got all the lasers and stuff.
Oh, weird.
That's
kind of fun
to fix that. Yeah, batteries for Pokemon cartridges.
So you keep your saves.
It's nuts. So anyway, I just learned this morning that today, as of this recording, is the 15th anniversary of the original BioShock, and I thought we'd just kind of chat about that for a second because, man, remember how big BioShock was when that first came out, and just how excited we were to play it?
Would you kindly not remind me how old I am?
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
You know what's funny is whenever I request review copies in an email, I always use, would you kindly consider us an potential outlet for a review copy? Every time.
Well, hopefully the PR people's a nerd. I'm sure they're like, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Or they're sitting here no, I will not kindly, you evil bastard.
I can't believe I was 16 when BioShock came out. It's wild.
It's crazy.
Wild to think about.
Yeah.
So good though. I just love that storytelling and I love the gameplay, and I just love that so much. The BioShock collection, I know by the time anybody hears this it'll be over, but it was on sale for $10 on Xbox and PSN today. So if you guys don't have that and haven't played it, $10 is a steal for 3 solid games. Even though 2 isn't my favorite, it's still worth playing.
Even at full price, that's a hell of a deal, that collection.
Yeah.
Because you get
when it was $60.
Because you get those burial CD DLCs as well, which I haven't played, but obviously I've heard are phenomenal.
They're pretty good storytelling.
Man,
and it's fun being back in Rapture.
That just hit me that my oldest son was 6 months old today.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The weird thing is I never understood why people complained about the original BioShock and its controls. I keep seeing people, in the discussions on the social media outlets today are saying, "Oh yeah, it was so good, but thank goodness they fixed the controls, with the collection." And I just never understood that. I never had a problem with the gameplay in the original BioShock. Did you guys?
No? I think I seem to remember. Was it a click down the right stick to aim down the sights kind of game? Maybe, but that's the only thing I could think of. But then you also need the left trigger anyway for like your plasmids and stuff. So
I always thought that yeah, you're right. The plasmids were on there, right?
Yeah, I think so originally. Yeah, because you could kind of like,
or were they one of the bumpers?
Oh boy, I don't remember. I don't know. Either way, I don't remember having a problem with the BioShock controls. I remember in BioShock 2, you could dual wield. It felt pretty sweet.
It did, yeah. And I always stuck with the 1-2 punch that
sure
was his name, Atlas.
Yeah, the shock and wrench combo.
Oh, dude, that became my staple. Even when I got a firearm, I just still shocked him and then held him in place and made it easier to shoot.
Oh man,
it was so much
fun. I want to play BioShock now.
Didn't you also? I know, me too. I was thinking the same thing. I actually replayed through it about 3 years ago, and I'm like, I just want to play through it again. And didn't you recently read Rapture?
Yeah, it's great. Even
like shockingly good.
Even from like a decade removed of the last time I played BioShock, it still just like was great. Just a genuinely good book.
When I read it was when I actually went back to replay it just because I was so into it again. It was really, really good.
Yeah,
if you have not read that, CB, I can't remember if you have.
I have.
Yeah, so
just
good.
You get to track Andrew Ryan's descent into the very thing he claims to hate. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good stuff.
Very good stuff. And Infinite, BioShock Infinite, is that what it's called? Yeah. We've talked about that in the past, but Columbia was just such a cool place, and the twins, and I just so many good memories of that game. It's a nostalgia. It's weird to say a nostalgia thing when it's only 15 years ago, but those games elicit things from my past. When even just hearing some of the music and Circus of Value and all that kind of stuff, it's just so good.
Fun fact: BioShock Infinite, my first published review for a site that was Metacritic weighted. Now defunct though. But
yeah,
I've given it a 6 out of 10. Got a lot of heat for that one.
Yeah, I bet you did. I
stand by it.
Also, want to give a shout out to a couple of our giveaway winners. Mr. Joel Solinsky won a copy of The Quarry on Xbox Series X, and GamerDad03 over in our Discord community won a $20 Steam gift card. We do that once a quarter for the top posters over there. So yeah, check out those communities if you'd like to be a part of that. I'm actually in the process of working out a system with the physical copies that we give away. Joel was nice enough to kind of be a guinea pig for this new quote unquote program that we're trying to do. So Joel has agreed to pass the game on to another listener after he's finished playing it. And the listener who is getting it after that has agreed to do the same thing. So there's actually a line of 3 or 4 people that will all get this game sent to them. So we're going to try to keep that going. Obviously, we're not going to force a winner to do that. But if they are willing to do it, we're going to get people added to a list, and then everybody will just mail the game to the next person. And I think that'll be kind of fun to kind of build up some community. So stay tuned for some details on that. But I am looking forward to sharing the love, as it were. But let's get into the games we've been playing, at least the ones we've been catching up on. Zach, I feel like I haven't talked to you in it feels like a month. I know it hasn't been that long, but
I don't know. It might have been. I feel like we kept missing each other.
I know, and I heard you talking about Live Alive when you did the episode with Alyssa. But I just have so many questions. How far into it are you now?
So I've only played 3 of the 7 paths.
Mm-hmm.
I had a busy week last week, but I started getting back into it yesterday, and yeah, that game's super cool, man. It's a little how easy it is a little frustrating. Like in the near future playthrough, you can pretty much I can pretty much one hit the entire group of enemies you're fighting, which just feels a little overpowered. But also that character, I guess, is supposed to be overpowered. But anyway, the point is, it can be a little easy in the combat.
I'm okay as long as it tells a good story.
Yeah, the stories are all relatively straightforward, but I'm starting to, as I talked about with Alyssa, but now I can see more clearly the threads that are running through each character's lives, as it were, and it's definitely compelling. I'm curious how it'll all come together by the end.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing I'm curious about as well, and I hope you can share that without spoiling it, because I do want to play it at some point. But I know a lot of people were disappointed. I think you were as well in Octopath Traveler, and the 8 stories that you were hoping were going to converge, and they wound up being just 8 separate stories. Are you seeing any convergence of these stories in any way, or hints that it's going to be leading that way?
There is. I don't want to give too much away, but there is an evil entity that each character encounters.
Okay.
I don't want to give. It interacts with them all in unique ways, so sometimes you don't necessarily see it coming, which is kind of entertaining. But there's definitely a through line, and I can kind of start to guess how they'll come together. But I think it's going to work out. Yeah, because Octopath Traveler was disappointing, especially because the characters were party members for each other, but then they didn't actually interact in the story in any way. So it was just very. It was very confused. It was just like took me out of the experience seeing them in your party or whatever. But this game,
especially because that gameplay was so good and it was just a gorgeous looking game.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Live Alive is stunning to look at as well. That whole 2D HD thing they're doing, where like they're kind of like walking around in 3D environments that almost look like little dioramas with your 2D sprites. It's good. It's good stuff, no matter what you're doing, and it really goes to places. Like driving a motorcycle around downtown or fighting in a giant mech in the near future. But then it can also just be setting traps in the Wild West. It's or a fighting tournament in modern day. It just, I don't know. Each campaign feels pretty unique.
It just sounds so amazing. It just sounds like a game that I just have to play. I'm bummed that I don't have the time.
And it's very
to be able to do so.
It's very Super Nintendo. They've kept all the Super Nintendo isms, like just kind of weird throwaway mechanics. Like you used to do back in the day when games didn't have to justify the cost of everything. Like you could there's one character who will just upgrade stuff for you, but it always like gets worse. It's just funny because he's like a mad scientist guy. But then that system only runs for that one, campaign or again to the near future, which was just a fun one because you could also read all the NPCs' minds and stuff. But then none of the other characters could do that. I don't know. It's exciting stuff. Yeah, it's good.
I know you're a fan of when games do something, put a lot of time and effort into a specific mechanic, and then just never revisit it again, or at least in this case, maybe they'll revisit at the very end.
The Super Mario School of Game Design.
Yeah,
that's stuff. Always good. Yeah, I think you would like it a lot.
I want Nintendo to go back to the well of the SNES and get some of those old JRPGs and give them this treatment.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like some kind of test bed, right? Because it was a bomb when it came out. Like, what a weird game to remake and bring out in the modern era, but it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could you imagine?
We get like Final Fantasy VII remade, and all these remakes of games that a lot of them we don't ask for, but there's so many beloved JRPGs that if we just did this fresh coat of paint on it, I would just love to go back and play like Final Fantasy VI.
You think you just want Super Mario RPG? Don't lie.
That came to mind for me as well, but I feel like Chrono Trigger and Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI have to be on the docket for this, right? Like that just seems like a no-brainer.
It would make so much money.
Especially
I don't know how much work goes into making this and redoing it, but I feel like it's less than what it took to do Final Fantasy VII remake. It has to be, right? I mean,
yes, right.
So
it does. It does have some questionable voice acting, but that aside, it's a pretty great game. Man, I don't know. Yeah, I'm
one day I will.
Intrigued to see its conclusion. I think I'm going to dig it.
Is that exclusive to Switch?
It is. Yep, Switch exclusive.
Yeah.
No trophies. I know. It's like, why even play?
No. I wasn't saying it because of that. I was actually thinking it would be something I could get on handheld, either on that or my Steam Deck if it were on PC.
Yeah, it's good for.
Because
I could eventually see this one coming to PC, like through Steam.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Square Enix is such a weird company. I have no idea. The fact that this is Switch exclusive at all is mind-boggling.
That is weird.
It's not like Nintendo published it back in the Super Nintendo era.
Yeah. Anyway, Zach, anything else you've been catching up on?
Yeah, just a small Mass Effect 2 update. It continues to beat all of my expectations, man. And it's fun now having seen Star Trek. I can see a lot of that influence in this game. Definitely more Trek than Wars, Mass Effect 2. And because you do these little missions, and it just feels like a little Star Trek episode. But anyway, Jack and I are in love. I just wanted to update everyone. That's who I'm romancing. She's great.
Courtney Taylor.
Yeah, Courtney Taylor. That's true. Shout out to friend of the show. Hope she doesn't mind.
We'll have to send her a message.
CB, what about you?
Still chipping away at some Arcade Paradise, man.
Yeah,
about to expand my arcade again.
I'm about to come over and just see the arcade that you built.
It's fun, but man, like, again, the longer this game goes on, the front side of the game, the laundromat simulator, it's so irritating. Because you're like, I just want to go work on my things in the back. And they're like, no, you have laundry. Let's keep reminding you. I'm like, oh.
I think that's the point that we talked about last week, right?
Yeah, it's just like, oh God, why does this... I'm like, I just want to get to the point in the game where that side of it is just like, boop, gone. And then
it'll feel like a reward when you get to there.
It really will. So I'm just... because I'm invested to the point that I'm like, I have to finish this out.
Right.
Especially because like this is essentially like one of those simulator games. So I want to see if it has a slightly quirky ending, like another recent simulator game we both played.
Power Wash Simulator?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the ending yet. But
oh man. You won't see it coming.
Oh yeah?
Is it aliens?
No. I'm not going to confirm nor deny.
Pull the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That'd be awesome.
It's so weird.
I'm intrigued. I didn't get very far. I stopped at the motorcycle, so I was very early on.
It'll take you a while to finish it. So if you really want to, Scott, just go look, because there are videos on YouTube where people are like, "What?"
I may have to go look it up. As for me, I plugged away at Sonic Generations a little bit more. That game just continues to blow me away. Zach, I don't think I talked to you, but just a little bit on chat about this one. But I said it on last week's episode. I feel like I get Sonic now.
Yeah,
this game
Generations is so good.
It's so much fun, and it's getting to where I actually don't even want to play the 2D ones. I just want to play the 3D ones because they're just a blast.
Wow,
so much fun. Yeah. I am frustrated. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm a little excited because this is like the longest I've heard you go without mentioning like anything Zelda related.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Kevin will be doing that because we're gonna talk about that on a Patreon episode. He finished Link's Awakening for the first time, and so we're gonna do a little break the seal. But the only thing I struggle with Sonic Generations is you can't just play the levels and progress and do a boss. You have to complete the levels, and then once you do, before you can get the keys to fight the boss, you have to do all these, like, I don't know, missions or something. Like you have to go back into the levels and beat under a certain amount of time with certain limitations, or you have to collect a number of rings in a certain amount of time. And I don't enjoy that. I just enjoy running through the levels. It's just to see what they do next and have that cool feeling of going fast and not hitting the brick wall and actually succeeding. It's awesome.
Did you escape from the city?
Yes. Is that the one that has that awesome song that plays?
Yeah.
While you're doing it? It was stuck in my head for like the entire day.
Follow my rainbow.
Yes.
I love that song.
It felt like something that like I would pop on a playlist and play.
Yeah.
Like I may have to add that to my playlist one of these times, but it's really good. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. All right, we are right at the cusp of which one is it? Is it Gamescom that's happening this week? So there's a lot of news about to drop, probably starting tomorrow or tonight. But we do have a few things that happened this past week. First off, Death Stranding is officially coming to Game Pass. The games list for the Genesis Mini 2 have been revealed. Sunsoft is making a comeback. And then lastly, Embracer Group has joined the acquisition spending spree trend that's been going on in the games industry. Zach, it's been a minute since I got to talk to you. Where would you like to start, although I already know?
You do?
I think so.
Uh-oh. I want to talk about Death Stranding?
No, that's not what I thought you wanted to talk about.
Sorry to disappoint you. That's why I was confused. No, I think this is awesome. I love Death Stranding, man. And
I'm shocked that's the one that was the most exciting story.
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know. I mean, well,
come on, guys, get it right. Call it by its real name.
Cutie Booty Delivery.
Cutie Booty Delivery Duty.
Well, I assume you were pointing towards the Embracer Group one, but that just kind of makes me sad. So, I want to get a little happy before I get upset. But Death Stranding, yeah, it's great. And I think how fun is it that Xbox can kind of put this middle finger up to Sony,
Especially after what we talked about last week.
Yeah, it's
with their allegations.
Oh, right. Yeah, the little catty back and forth happening mostly out of Brazil right now.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like how they just keep Xbox is so funny that back and forth, but I'm sure you guys already talked about it. But dude, yeah, I think this is great, and it's funny. 505 publishes on a PC, so I guess they can make whatever deal they want. But I'm sure Sony's not too thrilled about the game they funded coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, what's interesting is it's PC only. Do you think there's any possibility of that coming to Xbox as well?
I think a big fat 0% chance, because Sony published it on consoles. I think they allowed 505 to publish it on PC. But hey, it'd be good for Kojima if it comes over to Xbox. But I would say unlikely currently.
And that will be available on the 23rd. So by the time you guys hear this episode, it will be available on PC. The thing that sucks about these games coming to PC, as a guy that wants to try out his Steam Deck, is to buy those games at still full price. So like Spider-Man is still $60. And I already own the game on PlayStation, so I don't want to pay another $60 for a game that I've already played.
Do you think but Scott, this is coming to Game Pass Ultimate, which you have.
No, I know that. I'm just talking about it's not going to be on Game Pass, but it'll also be available for purchase, right? Or it is available.
Yeah, it already is, yeah.
Yeah, it's available for purchase.
Right. But I don't have access. I can't play Game Pass games on my Steam Deck.
Why is that?
Because it's a Steam machine, and you can't unless I do the boot camp things and get Windows installed or whatever you got to do. I'm not savvy on how to do all that. So there's a way to do it, sure. But
yeah.
Do you think the audience takes a shot every time they hear you talk about your Steam Deck?
Dude, I'm so stoked about it, man.
He won't let me borrow it, even though he's just like, yeah, I want you to play this, but I'm not going to let you borrow it.
When have I said I wouldn't let you borrow it?
I'm going to bring it to D&D, blah, 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 so you can try the Aperture desk thing.
I didn't do it intentionally. I came straight from work. That's why I didn't have it with me. So.
I wouldn't let him borrow it. But I wouldn't let anybody borrow my Steam Deck if I had one.
Why?
What if they drop it, man?
This is CB. He takes care of his stuff.
Yeah, I loaned him my Oculus for 2.5 weeks straight.
CB's got kids, man.
Yeah. That's true.
My kids do not touch my high-end stuff.
Oh, man.
Your Atari 400 says hello.
Yeah, guess what it's replaced now?
I like his long pause where he's like, yeah, well.
But
okay, I bought a new one.
If I break something, I legitimately replace it.
No, I'm sure you're good for that. Yeah. But Scott would have to wait another 2.5 years on a waiting list to get the Steam Deck.
Yeah, right?
Probably.
What's funny is I've got this, $560 machine, and I use it to play Vampire Survivors more than anything else.
Sweet.
I looked that up on Steam yesterday or today, actually. I've got 54 hours in Vampire Survivors.
That's awesome.
That game is really
You should talk to the Twitter or you should go to Twitter and tell the developer that you bought a Steam Deck to play Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, I got a buddy in Portland that says that his buddy has a Steam Deck and he just calls it his Vampire Survivors machine. That's you have a Steam Deck? Oh, you mean my Vampire Survivors machine? Yeah, totally. So, CB, what about you? What story intrigues you to talk about.
What do you think I'm going to talk about? Since you assumed you knew what Zach was going to talk about.
I'm kind of torn between two stories, but I'm gonna guess the Sunsoft story.
You'd be wrong.
Wow.
Good.
Okay.
I want to talk about Embracer Group.
I like twisting the knife
right.
into Scott. Scott thinks he knows us. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah. So yeah, Embracer Group recently just bought a bunch of crap, and it kind of pisses me off.
Well, I'm sure one thing they purchased has to make you pretty upset.
You'd be surprised because that's not the one that pisses me off.
Okay. All right. Lay it on me.
Because you know what? Limited Run can go rot.
Really?
Really?
Why? Because it takes so long, or?
No, I've gotten to the point that Limited Run isn't what they originally started to be.
Right, because
they don't do limited runs anymore.
Oh, because open pre-orders or whatever?
It's just pre-orders. Oh yeah, buy this game for as long as you want, and then we're just going to ship a bunch of them to Best Buy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're still preserving physical games, which is good for me. The stuff I don't like that they do is when they re-release stuff that already had a physical release, like a Turok on N64 cartridge, or like the old Star Wars games repackaged, like that. That to me,
okay, the Star Wars repackages were legitimately cool.
They were cool, but I still feel like that undermined their mission to me.
But the one that irritates me that they're doing is they're like, we're going to take this budgety title from like retro games, and we're going to charge you $90 to $150 for it, even though you can still buy it for like a quarter. So Limited Run can go pound sand.
I don't understand why. Like I bought the Blood Rain combo pack in like October. And I know you should just buy it and just wait for it to show up one day, but it just feels like, God, they take a long time.
I think the last one that I got from was a game that I was waiting for like almost a year and a half for.
Yeah, I'm coming up on a year for freaking Blood Rain. It's insane.
Yeah, dude, it's dumb. But there's like other newer titles that they're like, oh look, pre-orders closed. We'll have it out next week. Weird. No, the part that surprised me was the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit IP.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal because going forward, it's actually apparently already like threatening certain parts of the Amazon show. Like if they want to do a second season, they now have to verify it through Embracer.
I'm pretty sure Amazon could just give them enough money, right? Like it's not.
I was going to say they're sitting on plenty.
Yeah, but like any future games, anything has to go through Embracer Group.
Well, I mean, like that. There's a Hobbit game coming out soon, right?
The Gollum one.
Gollum,
but that deal was already done.
Right. Well, then there's the Weta Workshop game that's coming.
But again, like the fact that they bought. Okay, so for those listening, Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit IP, Tripwire Interactive, which I believe is the same people that did the Arcade Paradise game that I'm playing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tuxedo Labs, Limited Run Games, and Singtrix, and they bought all of them for $576 million.
Isn't Tuxedo Labs the ones that did that shark game?
Yeah, they're the ones that did Manhunter.
Maneater. Yeah.
Which was a highly successful game.
Mm-hmm.
But
is this company, correct me if I'm wrong, like Embracer Group is
they're like
another
Tencent.
Yeah. Right, just without the communist ties.
Yeah.
Right.
Without the human rights violations.
But I'm sitting here like, okay, Tripwire Interactive, my guess is probably like less than $50 million. Tuxedo Labs, less than $50 million. Limited Run Games, less than $50 million. And Singtrix, less than $50 million. You combine all those together, let's say $200 million for those four. That means they got the Lord of the Rings IP for cheap. Like really cheap.
Well, they must be master negotiators, right? They got 3 studios from Square Enix and all that IP, Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, all that stuff. Legacy of Kain for $300 million. They must have the toughest board meetings in the world.
They're like, yeah. So I'm sitting here like looking at like, how are they getting these so cheap? Because I have a feeling if they get any cut of the profits off of like the Gollum game and the Weta Workshops game and the Amazon TV show, they're going to make back their $576 million like before the end of the year.
Feels that way.
I legitimately think they got the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings IP for like a song and a prayer.
I mean, at some point, do you think that ship has sailed in terms of there's not going to be another film trilogy, right?
Don't be so sure on that, because they want to do I know there's a lot of people calling for the fact that they want to do a Silmarillion.
That's unfilmable.
It's going to be real hard, but creative liberties have always seemed to be taken with everything else. There's a ton of people that want a first age or second age movie set. I mean, keep in mind, we're looking at, we've seen movies for 6 of the books. There are 28 of them.
6 of the books? Wasn't The Hobbit just one book?
Oh, well, okay, six movies.
Right.
But 4 books. There's
8 books?
24 more.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was that much more to.
Granted, some of them are legitimate, just straight history books.
That doesn't sound fun.
He wrote the history for everything. But I've watched some of the YouTube where they dive into the lore, and some of it seems like it would be legitimately amazing as a movie. So I'm just completely baffled on whichever company punted that IP, because there's a lot of money left to be made in that.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah, I just wish Embracer would stop buying stuff.
Yeah, and I know you don't like it, Zach, but
I'm tired of people buying stuff. It's getting annoying. Yeah.
Well, the problem is, I legitimately feel Embracer Group, Tencent, it's going to get to the point where you've bought too much that the more you try to hold, the more that will slip through your fingers.
Right.
Yeah, but you didn't say that about Microsoft. To the point that
they're because Microsoft seems to have slowed a bit again.
After they just bought one of
the
biggest publishers in the world. Yeah,
but that's still not even done.
Yeah, I know, but still.
But it's not like they're buying them, trying to so Bethesda, this last year was the Xbox and Bethesda showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to leave those companies intact. They're just hey, you need some extra funding? Here you go.
Right.
Whereas Embracer Group, they're no, just everything under Embracer Group.
Hey, I'm not happy about Xbox buying everything.
I know you're not. Sony's trying to play the game now, too.
Of course, it's looking increasingly and more depressingly likely they'll try to snag Square Enix here before long.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the way that everything seems to want to move on to Game Pass these days, they better lock something up quick.
What a bummer.
Makes it.
I don't want the weird prudish things that Sony does to their games now affecting Square Enix.
That whole Game Pass thing, I'm just sitting here what's going to be the next one to follow? Are we going to see a Final Fantasy VII remake on Xbox?
No.
Or Ghost of Tsushima on Xbox?
That one I don't see happening. I could see Final Fantasy happening before that, but I've been itching to replay Final Fantasy. That would be a great reason to jump back in and play that again, because I loved it.
Have you played on PS5?
I actually haven't. I should go do that.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to look a lot better, and I never played the integrated
stuff. Yeah, I keep wanting to play the DLC, because the DLC was PS5 exclusive for no reason at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be nice to play that. I do want to, before we move on, point out the irony in that I said I hate limited run for reprinting games that already had a physical release, like the Star Wars games or whatever, and then also mentioning that I bought Blood Rain. But I would just like to... So I just want to say, I'm aware of my hypocrisy. However, I have a weakness for redheads. Moving on.
That's why you like me so much.
That's exactly right.
You have a red beard. Your head is only red when you go out in the sun.
Yeah.
The audience can't see it, but I just winked at CB.
Yes, he did. But the other reason why I can't limited run games, whatever, because there's so many other ones now. There's super rare games, and there's a new one that just popped up recently. Limited rare games.
It's a bad name.
Yeah, it's terrible. Or strictly limited games. I like I think it's Super Rare is the one that made the Devolver Digital physical only release game.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Nate and I both got a copy of that. Nate completely forgot that he bought it.
Remember that conversation on
He's like,
text
this showed up in my mail today. I don't remember buying this. And I'm like, cool, because they only made 10,000 copies and it's never going to be digitally released.
It's hilarious.
I wanted to talk about the comeback of Sunsoft because I thought this was really interesting. I don't know if you guys, I know CB remembers Sunsoft from a collector standpoint. They originally established in the 70s, and they were responsible for games like Batman, Blaster Master, and Spy Hunter, all on the NES. But they're starting to make a comeback by publishing 3 new games based on classic games from the NES era that were not available in the US. A game called Iki Unite, which is a multiplayer co-op roguelike, Gimmick, which is an NES platformer, and Euphoria, spelled UFOURIA, which is a Metroidvania that's going to release in 2023. I thought this was interesting because, number one, I never heard of these 3 games. I had to go look up a YouTube video and see what they actually were. I know you, CB.
I heard of them.
Yeah, have you played them?
Well, Mr. Gimmick was a European exclusive for the NES.
Oh, it's Mr. Gimmick? I thought it was just Gimmick.
Yeah, it's a play on Mr. Gimmick. So I've played that. Euphoria is actually in my collection.
Oh, is it?
And Iki Unite was a Japanese exclusive.
That one actually looks really fun to me.
Yes, it does. But yeah, I'm actually kind of excited for these. There's one thing that makes me angry about it, though.
He says with a sweet timbre in his voice.
The typical only everything coming out of Japan right now, Switch and PlayStation only.
Oh, is that what it's going to be?
Yep.
I'm okay with Switch. PlayStation, though.
Yeah. I mean, at least Gimmick, I'm like, ooh, look, Mr. Gimmick is coming back to a Nintendo property.
Yeah. And they are planning to release 2 or 3 titles per year going forward. And they are going to be working on new IP as well and brand new titles. So, welcome back, Sunsoft. I feel like I haven't seen that logo in quite a while, and they made some bangers back in the 90s. So,
oh yeah,
I didn't know.
Weird commercial though.
I didn't know they were still in business all this time.
I didn't either.
Just making pachinko machines.
I think they were doing the same thing like Sega did, where it's like we're going to license out properties.
Oh,
but
sense.
Gives me hope for Sega, man.
Sega.
Totally. Delicious.
I'm sure Xbox will buy them soon.
Somebody will.
Probably.
I mean, next week on acquisitions. We'll just have an acquisition corner in the news segment.
Yeah, man. I feel like the games industry is just acquisition news and leaks now.
Acquisitions, leaks, and delays.
Yes, yeah, lots of delays.
Acquisitions, leaks, delays, and just random announcements that make 0 sense for like 10 years from now.
And sexual harassment allegations.
Well,
those seem to have died down a little.
Yeah.
Nintendo just got one this past week.
That's surprising.
I know.
I mean, I knew their games were getting hornier, but I had no idea the staff was.
I mean,
yeah, they go together.
All right. I want to remind everybody that we are an independently funded podcast, which means we do pay for our podcast hosting services and website by way of contributions from our community. If you'd like to help out and maybe get some bonus episodes, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. You can sign up for a monthly subscription. At the $3 level, you'll get 1 extra episode each month. At the $5 tier, you'll get 2 bonus episodes. And we've got lots of great content already on there. So if you sign up for the first time, you're going to be able to listen to our entire back catalog of really fun episodes. CB, why don't you tell everybody what they can check out right now and what's coming on the horizon, although it's the same as last week.
I know. Well, I mean, break the seal on Max Payne 1 and 2. Our retro outsider look at Little Samson and why Scott overpaid. Trade-off, Link's Awakening versus Sonic Generations. It's always nice to hear from Mr. Honigford about his obsession with the blue blur. Desert Island Games with CJ Moore. And then CB personally tortures Scott Clark with games that aren't for us.
And I still don't know what that is. Although you showed me one. There was one game you showed me that was like
it was 2.
Politics game or something on like the ColecoVision. So.
Campaign 84.
Stay tuned for all of that. Again, if you'd like to check that out, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. We would appreciate it. And just to clarify, as I don't do this too often, but we don't pay ourselves, guys. Everything that we get goes into the Gaming Outsider coffers, pays for the show, pays for review copies, which we in turn give away to the community if we buy copies for ourselves. So nobody is on a payroll here at the Gaming Outsider, unfortunately. I don't know how I've kept these guys for so long, but yeah, it's all for the community, all for the Gaming Outsider, and eventually R2V2, which, fingers crossed, 2023. But again, the website is patreon.com/thegocast. All right, Zach, I feel like I haven't asked you to do this in a while, but tell me what's coming out for to purchase.
Right, yeah, I always love reading these to you, Scott, specifically.
Aw.
Midnight Fight Express, action game, kind of looks like the intensity of Hotline Miami in this one. Coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, August 23rd. Saints Row reboot that I don't know who this game is for. Coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC, August 23rd. F1 Manager 2022 makes its way to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC on August 25th. Kind of a cool looking 2D platformer hack coming to Hack or Hawk. It's got Haak in case you want to look it up. That's coming to Hack. Sounds rolls right off the tongue. Coming to Switch and PC August 25th. Idle Manager, CB's Game of the Year, I imagine, coming to PS5, PS4, and Switch August 25th. SD Gundam Battle Alliance coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC August 25th. I think that game is loaded with battle passes and all that stuff, so your mileage may vary. Pac-Man World Repack, which I think only got announced like a month or so ago, coming out already on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC August 26th. Soul Hackers 2 from Atlas, a very Persona-esque looking game, coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One. That is incredibly unusual and noteworthy, as well as PC August 26th. Hopefully this is Atlas testing the waters to make sure their future releases come to Xbox day and date. And then The Company Man, which CB has reviewed for the Switch, is coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, and Xbox One August 26th. Gentlemen, anything catching your eye this week?
I kind of want to play Pac-Man World Repack. I know that's gonna make CB cringe.
Shut up! You're not allowed in my house.
Why don't you? Why don't you like Pac-Man World?
Because it's not Pac-Man.
Oh, you're one of those people. You're a purist. You're a Pac-Man purist,
man. It
looks dumb.
I think it looks charming.
I think it's. Yeah, it looks delightful. I think it's the best looking game on this list.
You can both go.
I think it's great. I was a big fan of Pac-Man 2 on Super Nintendo, where he's got the family and you had to go out and get diapers and stuff. That was good.
You need to leave.
Look, I love Pac-Man 2 and Championship. I just like the Pac world, I guess. I had no idea. I didn't know this.
Isn't that the game where Pac-Man has a surprise face where his mouth opens way too large than it should?
Yeah, It's like an over-the-top cartoon kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. That was also, as a kid, that was my first Pac-Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Because I went over to my uncle's house. He had it on Super Nintendo. It was my first experience with Pac-Man. And then after that, my grandpa was very upset that I played that first and then made me, play Pac-Man, the original Pac-Man on Atari or whatever it was. So... good stuff.
Oh, that was a mistake going back to the Atari version.
Well, that's still Pac-Man, though.
That version is terrible.
Well, when you're a kid, you don't care.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't when I was a kid. I definitely had Pac-Man fever for Atari 2600. So I will say that the one game, Midnight Fight Express, looks kind of fun.
It looks cool, yeah.
It looks like you said, like Hotline Miami, but with a more isometric view and... it's not just shooting. There's actually melee combat.
Yeah, when I'm saying I mean that intensity of every second looks like it counts sort of thing. You're also just murdering everybody in quick fashion. Yeah, it's almost like a John Wick simulator in that way. Yeah, it looks cool.
Mm-hmm. I think the Gundam Battle Alliance game looks like a lot of fun, but I have no tie to that series or anime or anything at all. So it just looked like kind of a fun one to try out. And after CB's review of The Company Man, I would like to play that one too, but I think I could just borrow CB's Switch and play it.
I kind of want to play The Company Man again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's legitimately fun.
I hate to be this kind of person, but boy, does The Company Man look like a great Game Pass game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised it's just not coming to Game Pass.
I was a little bit. Yeah.
I did look at Idle Manager. No, man. It's not for me.
No?
It's...
yeah.
I'm just so confused. Like, watching the trailer, I'm so confused by the gameplay for it.
Yeah, it was
because like answer some questions with these animated narrative scenes, and then it goes to a pixelated like audition.
Yeah,
on a stage. I'm like, I don't think this game knows what it wants to be.
I got as far in the trailer as it's always been my dream to be an idol, and I'm finally there. And I was like, all right, this game is not for me.
You know what's funny is like that's less annoying to me than the Saints Row stuff.
I didn't even bother watching the trailer for Saints Row, honestly, because I don't know.
I'm like,
I can't get excited.
I'm like
for that
hate
game.
watching it at this point.
I've still never played a Saints Row game, and I still don't want to start.
I don't know, man. You should check. You should at least play the beginning of Saints Row 3.
But again, there's the problem. Like, I can't just jump into a series like mid-series.
I think the first game's got a lot of merit.
The original Saints Row, but I feel like they're not that tied, are they?
No, you're playing the same character in all of them. You know, and
yeah, but I mean, there's not like any story continuity that you need to know in order to be able to play
Johnny Gat. He's kind of a through line.
Gat.
And Keith David.
Yeah.
Keith David's in I think it was the fourth game where he's your vice president.
Oh, jeez.
Wasn't there a bonus thing to find in Saints Row 2 where there was like a giant rubber ducky out in the middle of the ocean? It was like a big like hidden thing that you had to find, and it would just randomly appear out in the middle of the water.
Sounds like a completely normal thing for Saints Row. Yeah. It's funny that like that would be an Easter egg in the second game, but then by the fourth game you're fighting off alien invasions with superpowers.
Right, but with Saints Row 2, it wasn't that crazy. They didn't really go full bore Saints Row till 3, right?
Yes.
It wasn't like ridiculous.
But 2 was definitely transitioning into it where you had like dildo bats and stuff like that. But the first game was
Strap it on.
The first game was a pretty straight-laced crime story.
Strap it on.
See, seeing something like Saints Row though just makes me want another Dead Rising game.
Well, this Saints Row looks like a bunch of 50-year-old dudes were in a room trying to write what they thought a 20-year-old kid would think was cool.
Yeah.
It seems painfully out of touch.
Yeah. But the opening of 3, best use of a certain song that I will... Isn't it even like not in there anymore? It was on the version I played. And then there's a song they use in the opening on 4 that was just like, all right, it's going to be this kind of game.
But see, here's the problem. Like, you're telling me, like, play this game for the intro, man. That's all you need to play it for.
That's all you really need to do. Although there are ridiculous things that happen. Like, at one point, there's a character that's an actual pimp, but he uses, like, a vocal corrector thing that's, like, his voice always does that auto-tune thing, like T.I. does or whatever. And it is just so stupid, but it's hilarious. It's really funny. Anyway, I'm definitely going to wait for reviews on that one. I don't really have any need to jump into that game, much less another open world game that would take me way too many hours to complete.
I mean, it makes Borderlands dialogue kind of look Shakespearean by comparison. So I don't think I'm going anywhere near Saints Row.
I don't blame you, but I don't know. Some people are excited for it, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys can cleanse my brain by talking about Curse to Golf here on Xbox, which you've both been playing, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty solid little banger that I was surprised by.
Yeah, I've already got a smile on my face thinking about this game. This game kind of came out of nowhere. I don't even think I would have noticed it last week. You know, when we talked about it coming out. Yeah, if it weren't for CB and this game is pretty cool. So this is a legitimately
like
fun game.
2D golf. Looks like
it's 2D golf.
Okay.
So you were background on the story.
Yeah, tell me that. I'm sure the plot is intricate, so lay it on me.
Actually, it is kind of interesting.
All right.
So you're like the the best golfer in the world. You're about to win the final championship to like secure that you're the best golfer, and you die. Like mid-round.
Struck by lightning as you're making the final.
Oh, man.
The final approach on hole 18.
And you're sent to golf purgatory.
No.
Where you are cursed to golf forever.
The clubhouse is called Eternity.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I see there.
Which is patroned by the Scotsman.
Yeah. Kind of makes me wish it had voice acting.
Oh my gosh, if this game had voice acting, I think it would probably be a game of the year contender for me.
It's a very weird concept to do like a roguelike 2D golf game, but it
works.
it works more like it's almost like a platformer. If you made golf a platforming game, Cursed to Golf would be that game. It's crazy. So the way it works is you start a hole. Okay, your goal is, in order to escape purgatory, is you have to complete 18 holes in a row.
Sure.
So that's how it becomes like a roguelike.
Oh, okay.
You start on, and you have to be able to make it through all 18 holes. At the beginning of each hole, you're given 5 strokes, and you have 5 strokes to get it to the hole, and you basically have to navigate through this maze like a platforming section, like a Mario game that goes right to left and back and forth, and there's obstacles and fans and everything. But along the way, there are these little idols that you can hit with your ball that will add 4 or 2 strokes to your number. So as long as you finish the hole with at least 1 stroke left, you move on to hole 2. You with me so far?
Yep. It sounds cool so far.
You want to tell them about the cards?
Oh, so you have ace cards, which gives you bonuses, like you can add like +2 to your par count, your stroke count.
They call it par count, yeah.
Or you can freeze time and the ball just drops wherever it is, like midair, because there's hazards everywhere. Oh god, there's the bomb explode card, because there's pathways that are blocked by TNT.
Yeah, and if you use the bomb card, it'll just like explode, and now you have an easier path to get to the hole faster.
Or the 2 cards that Scott forgets about all the time: practice shot and mulligan.
The mulligan lets you just basically like, oh, that shot sucked, I'm just gonna redo it. Or,
so that's a card for cowards.
I mean,
yeah, but sometimes in this game you actually like legitimately need the practice shot one, because if you take the practice shot one, say if you hit an idol, you get to keep the bonus of the idol without wasting a shot.
Oh, I didn't know that. So you can just like kind of waste the practice shot to get that.
Know.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah.
The game, mechanically, the game works very simply. Like you don't have, like in a normal golf game, you've got like 7 different irons and 5 different drivers. You just have a driver, an iron, and a wedge, and that's it. And there's no putting. It's just, you just use one of those 3. The driver obviously has a longer distance. The iron has a little bit more of an arc to it. And then the wedge is, more for an approach type shot. And along the way, there is rough, there's bunkers, and you have to, if you're in the rough, you have to use the iron. If you're in the bunker, you have to use the wedge. And then there's a spin mechanic, which is really easy to use, unlike other golf games where, it's just, you just tap it in the air and then point in the direction that you want it to spin, like you backspin or forward spin. And it's, what a charming little game that I just did not expect to like as much as I did.
Yeah. The thing that really kind of caught me off guard was the map, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because the map is almost identical to Slay the Spire.
Right. So like when you go from hole 1 to 2, you have 2 paths to choose, and you can either go straight to hole 2, or you can go the hard way, which will get you like some extra money to purchase in the shop. Or what else is there? Like you can actually go back to the shop.
Bonus. Well, you can get different bonuses too.
Mm-hmm. But if you take the harder path, then there's like your next hole is cursed, and the curses are actually kind of fun. Like,
only shoot left.
Yeah, only shoot left. So yeah, or mine was flip the entire thing upside down, so you have to play the course upside down for 1 hole, or it locks out your driver for 2 shots and things like. It's just
the zoom one is really annoying.
I didn't get that one yet.
Oh, so it zooms in, and so you can't see like you can't use the bird's eye view then to look. So you kind of have to just like, okay, what was the last thing I remember seeing on this hole?
Oh, okay. At least it's not for the entire hole. It's just for that one stroke.
Yeah,
but
it's
interesting. It plays more like a platformer, but you don't have the luxury of just running and jumping. You have to figure out a way to hit the ball to where you want it to, and the risk versus reward. Do I take the extra shot to hit the idol so I have more bonus shots? Do I waste my bomb thing to make this path through here? I could see this being legitimately awesome. I don't know how difficult it is because it's not procedurally generated like you would think a game like this would be. It feels like there's just a random set of courses that were made, and then they just come in a random order.
There's a little bit of procedural generation to this because I looked it up and there's like over 10,000 holes.
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, Curse to Golf is like, I want to be playing it right now.
Yeah, it sounds fun as hell.
It really is. And we're playing it on Xbox, but it's also on Switch, I think.
Yeah, I think it's still on Switch too. I haven't looked up because I'm just playing on Xbox, but yeah, if this is on Switch, actually I can see this being like almost the perfect game to be on Switch.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Because you could just play one hole and then power it off and come back to it. It's great. Love Curse to Golf. Good times. All right, CB, talk to me about Tilesweeper, which
Tilesweeper?
Tilesweeper. I was trying to write something down at the same time, so my apologies. Tilesweeper, which I watched the trailer for this, and it just looks like 3D Minesweeper.
It is.
That yeah?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically an updated version of good old Minesweeper on your PC.
Mm-hmm.
They've made some updates to it though. So first off, yes, this is, for lack of a better term, this is just a Minesweeper clone. But what they do different is it's in 3D at a 3/4 isometric view.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing is they change like the patterns instead of there's just like the normal box. So sometimes it's like in a plus
like
shape.
Inlets.
Yeah, there's like little inlets and everything. You can mark the mines just like normal. Like it legitimately plays exactly like regular Minesweeper, just with some quality of life updates. And instead of staring at gray bricks, they have like different interactive backgrounds. So the one that I'm currently in, when you drop the bricks, they fall like into a pool of lava.
Oh, that's cool.
And like it just kind of burns them. The one thing that I am finding a little irritating is sometimes when you click the bricks, because you're like actually cracking bricks open, the rubble stays on the number.
That's what's hard
I think it's just a programming error. So I'm like, is it a 3? Is it a 4? I don't know.
I haven't played Minesweeper in a minute. I feel like I have to relearn how to play that game.
It's super easy. But I've played through on like some of the levels on easy, medium, and hard. And Scott, you're gonna hate it because it breaks a cardinal sin of Xbox achievements. So
odd numbers.
Well, so did Curse to Golf.
Yeah, odd numbers. Like the very first achievement I got was a 16.
I can't believe they still do that.
The achievements for Curse to Golf was 77 points.
Yeah, I don't know why so many developers think that they're being cute by doing that.
No,
but it just irritates the piss out of me.
Yeah, it does me too.
Because then I have to like go back to the well for like certain games where I'm like, oh yeah, this game had achievement points for 1.
Right, it just annoys me.
You gotta work.
Yeah,
I shouldn't let it bother me, but it does.
It's one of the reasons I keep my copy of Forza Motorsport 2 around. Because if you bought like certain cars, it's like you get 1 achievement point. And there's a lot of them on there.
Well, after I finish this and maybe play Tilesweeper, I'll see where I round out at and then see if I have to go do that.
Well, if you get all the achievements, it should balance out.
Yeah. But except for some games, they give you like the 1 point achievement at the very beginning just for like booting up the game. And then it's ridiculously hard to get all the achievements for that.
Yeah,
game.
It was like, oh, complete all the achievements. 1.
Yeah.
But like some of the achievements on this on Tilesweeper are going to take a while because it's like break 500,000 tiles.
Oof.
Hey,
That's a lot.
I mean, I've already broke like 10,000, so
most of my
500,000 is a lot.
Most of my experience with Minesweeper was putting it on the easiest level of difficulty and just clicking the one corner, and the whole thing would just go brrrr and reveal everything.
Yeah.
I don't think I actually played it legit too often, so wasn't that smart as a wee lad. All right, we got one other review to share with you guys right now. Kevin stopped by to review a game on Switch that I think sounds super fun. We're gonna play that for you right now. Well, hello there, Kevin. Long time no see. How you been, man?
I've been great. Yourself?
I'm doing all right, man. I am excited to hear you talk about Smash Boats, which is a game that you were reviewing for us on Nintendo Switch. I saw this trailer, immediately thought of you, number one, but it also reminded me of a game I played back on the NES called Bermuda Triangle. Do you remember that game, or you're a Genesis guy, so probably not?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not have access to much of the Nintendo stuff, so I doesn't ring a bell.
That's all right. Nobody's perfect. But in that game, you were kind of at an isometric view, navigating a tiny little boat that could shoot projectiles and going through speed races, and I thought it was a lot of fun. But I got that kind of vibe with this one. And like I said, the trailer is just, you love those games where you play with somebody and it's all on one screen. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the way to describe the games that you enjoy, and this seemed like right in that vein. Am I right?
Yeah, I enjoy the couch co-op when I can play with my boys and just kick their butts all over the place and win bragging rights again for the night in the house.
Nice. So what is Smash Boats? How does it work?
It's like a arena. I don't know if I want to say brawler. It's basically you and a partner or more, depending on the mode you pick.
Mm-hmm.
In a tub or sink or sometimes a toilet.
Oh my goodness.
Little toy boats with different attack methods, fighting hordes of enemies. And by enemies, I mean other boats. Numerous different types. But yeah, you basically the main co-op mode is you're in a race to get stars. Well, not a race. You have to get stars to progress the levels.
Okay, I'm with you.
Much like a lot of the mobile phones or mobile games have the get 3 stars to get to the next level, yada yada yada.
Sure.
Well, it does a little different. Does something a little different. If I could talk, where each level requires a different number of stars to get through, and basically. The one thing I will say, I don't want to get hung up on a negative right off the bat, but you can get more stars than what you actually need to get through a level.
Right.
They don't count past anything other than that level, though.
Oh, that's so you can't stack up for the next one. I guess it gives you a challenge, though.
Yeah, a little bit, but that was kind of like infuriating as we were playing. It's like I didn't understand why they were there, because me and Logan, when we were playing, we did get all the stars in one of the levels, and I mean, I thought maybe you'd get something for it, and
no reward, huh?
No reward. So I didn't really understand that part.
Gotcha.
But the gameplay itself is actually a lot of fun. Like I said, you are steering your boat. You are always moving forward.
Oh, so there's no gas. It's just
there's no gas. There is a dash attack. And then each boat has its own special ability. And this is like, we're talking wacky, zany. Like one of the boats they're little toy boats, and it has like a frying pan equipped. And so you float around, and you can smack things with this frying pan, and it does this really cool sound effect, this like dong, every time you hit something.
Now, is that unlimited, or do you have to
There is a cooldown. Most of them are very small cooldowns to where it's usable at a decent pace.
So you just can't spam it, basically.
Yeah. Most of them you can't spam. There's another one that has like a spring-loaded punching glove that shoots out the front.
All right.
And you can walk around punching enemies. There's another one that has 2 punching gloves that kind of spring-load off of its sides, which adds so you can shoot sideways in both directions. So that adds a whole nother aspect to that. That thing's that boat's play. There's just numerous types that you have to unlock them. There are 18 total different boats that you can unlock.
Oh wow, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, so most of them are very, very unique. Like I said, there's the frying pan, there's the punching gloves. One's a shark, and that one you can spam, and it was just a lot of fun for me just going around. His special attack is just a shark bite, so you just float around, just chomp, 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 chomp. But you're battling these enemies in a race to get stars and survive.
So what earns you more stars than not?
You will have boats come down at segments throughout a battle.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's 5 stars in a level, you'll have them come down every 1/5 of the level. And every time you can screw yourself up because there are objects that will drop that you can get that will like destroy everything, and that includes the ship with a star. So then you're not getting that star, and you'd have to go back and replay it if you wanted to get that.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you have to be careful. You want to destroy it, but you don't want it to get destroyed by the environment.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm with you. So they're really leaning into the toy boat. Try saying that fast 10 times. Aesthetic, like you said, you're in a tub and a toilet and sink and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's suds and rubber duckies and...
Yeah, there actually is. Some of the
awesome.
enemies you fight will be submarines that you have to time your attacks to where when they come up above water, you can hit them, and that's the only way you can attack them. You can also, each player boat is what they call it in the game, also has a dive feature, because it almost turns into a little bit of like almost like a bullet hell, because there's so many enemies on the screen at once, and they're coming at you so fast that the only way to get around them and survive is to dive. Each player boat has a dive mechanism. You can only dive for so long, and it does have a cooldown as well, but you can dive and then do your dash. So there's numerous ways to go about maneuvering the arenas, and the arenas are really cool too. There's one of them is like I think you start out in a regular bathtub, and then you go to a sink, and then there's one that it's called a vanity, and it is a sink with like a divider. I don't honestly know what a vanity is, but it's got like this divider that has like I don't know if they're supposed to be sponges or whatnot, but there's blocks and they shift up and down in the middle of the sink. So you can't just freely maneuver the entire sink. If you want to get to one side, you have to time it to where the sponges are sliding one way and giving you an opening, so on and so forth.
Okay. Now, so far, this sounds like you said, like a horde mode, where like it's you and your sons playing against and fighting off this horde, blasting through levels. But I know you also like to dominate your sons when it comes to multiplayer. Is there a multiplayer function as well where you can play against each other?
There is. It's called Smash Boat Party. And it's a whole other mode that you have to select when you start the game. But the difference is you're not a boat in this mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you are like a shark with a dart attached to your back.
Oh, so you actually get some projectiles going
on. Well, no, they're not projectiles. It's just affixed to your back, just with a pointy tip. So you have to swim around. Yeah. So you have to swim around, and you have to collect these coins, basically. And there's a diamond that you can collect. It's a points race.
Oh, okay.
But you can also lose coins by getting damaged.
Oh, so and that's going after the points, but also hitting the other guys to keep them from. Okay, I like it. Sounds like you may have to bring this one to D&D night. I'm just saying.
Yeah, sure. One of the slow nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say Logan actually bested me in this one pretty bad. Mm-hmm. I walked away with my head down from the party one. Yeah. It doesn't happen often.
Swallow your pride a little bit. Yeah. So is this one you recommend everybody check out, or?
Yeah. I will say, like I said, that there are some issues with it here and there, but and the other thing is like the single player mode is a whole different thing. It's like an actual campaign. It's also star based. But that without trying to poop on it or anything, it wasn't near as much fun.
Okay.
So the co-op and the party mode really, really help this thing out.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Again, that game is called Smash Boats. Kevin is playing it on Nintendo Switch, but it is available on other platforms. I believe this is the first time it came to Switch, right?
No, I think it was on Switch originally as well.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I might be wrong, but I think so.
Gotcha. All right, Kevin. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure we're going to talk to you next week about another game that you've been playing and enjoying quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to hearing that review next week. So we'll catch you later. All right, man?
Yeah, take it easy, man. Thanks again for the opportunity.
All right, I want to take an opportunity to remind everybody about our social media outlets and where you can follow The Gaming Outsider. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. We got a new member over there by the name of Tim Moore, so welcome, Mr. Moore. Also, our Discord server is live and thriving. You can follow the link in the show notes for this very episode, and we got an awesome community over there, and that's where we do a lot of our giveaways and everything too, so you will definitely want to check that out. Also, if you are feeling up to it, do us a favor and drop us a review wherever you listen to this podcast to help us get the word out there. And lastly, as I mentioned at the top of the show, our website is thegamingoutsider.com. There you will find all of our episodes and all of our written content, and we would love if you checked it out. Let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. We've talked before about our favorite video game heroes when it comes to characters in our beloved games, but I wanted to talk about a different kind of hero, those in the industry itself. It doesn't have to necessarily be our favorite games, but those who we look up to because of their impact on our favorite industry. So before we get into our specifics and the listener specifics, I want to know from you guys, what qualifications come to mind when thinking about industry heroes? Are you thinking the games they make, promote or discuss, or maybe some other impact that they've had on the industry? CB, I'll start with you.
Somebody that legitimately just kind of makes me smile or does things for gamers in general. Because I mean, sometimes it's the small things that for me that go the furthest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I don't know, like driving really hard to really like get a game out, or trying to think of new ideas and different ways for like all gamers to enjoy things. Like that's the big thing for me. I'm not a hard man to please.
I get you. How about you, Zach?
For me, it's like the Supreme Court's definition of porn. You just know it when you see it.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
You can just kind of tell, and because it's such a subjective thing anyway, it's kind of hard to lay down a qualifier. But I think an easy one would be like some kind of change maker, you know, like if someone were to say John Romero was a hero of theirs, it'd be like, oh, that makes sense, or a Shigeru Miyamoto. Yeah, people like that who change things in the industry.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Like, I mean, when you see it, you know. But for me, a big deal in terms of somebody that I look up to is somebody that just exudes passion for what they do. You know what I mean? Someone that's not doing it just for the paycheck, but they're doing it because they genuinely love doing it and being a part of this industry that we like so much. You know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong. Like I loved Reggie, and I think Reggie was passionate, but he always came across as like he was trying a little too hard. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure he plays games, but I'm sure he plays Nintendo games.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, as you say, he seems more involved than Jim Ryan does.
Yeah,
that's
well,
true.
I mean, just remember, his body is ready.
Right.
That was on my list last week for favorite media moments.
He's here to kick ass and take names, and Nintendo's about making games.
That was how he introduced himself to the industry, wasn't it?
He's great.
Yeah,
he's great. But I also don't like think of him as a hero, because to me he's a suit.
Right.
You know, he's just a likable suit.
He is likable. I think he came across as more genuine as a lot of them, but I still just something about his persona just made me feel like, you know, he's here for not the passion, he's here for the paycheck. And he's figured out a way to communicate and do PR in a way that works. You know what I mean? I could be totally wrong. I don't know the guy personally, obviously, but Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of all on the same page, but Zach, I think you kind of summed it up the best.
Thanks.
Yeah, you definitely
know
win that
when you see it. That was good. So let's get into some specifics, and I don't really have a limit here. Who do you consider to be some of your personal heroes, people that you look up to, or maybe like to model things that you do after? Anybody come to mind, Zach?
Well, I feel like a lot of my heroes are well spoken about on the show. Obviously Yoko Taro.
Mm-hmm.
He's just the best writer director out there. But in that same school of thought, I do really look up to Hideo Kojima and Hidetaka Miyazaki. With the Dark Souls series, and obviously Kojima with Metal Gear and Death Stranding, and Yoko Taro, they all seem to refuse to rest on their laurels. They like to constantly surprise the player. They like to do weird things. Like, I think the industry will be hard to ever top marketing Metal Gear Solid 2 as a Solid Snake game, but really you play as this dude named Raiden the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. What a move! What a historically
who does naked cartwheels?
Yeah, he does do some naked cartwheels. Absolutely. It's just incredible. Every Dark Souls game or Elden Ring is just loaded with stuff you wouldn't see coming a mile away, and then the Nier games are constantly shifting genres while you're playing them. It's just those three guys all seem to have had it seems like they're in the same class, of game design, and I really look up to them for that.
They take risks. Like a lot of game developers just don't do as much nowadays.
Yeah, and they seem to somehow have the clout to convince people to give the money to take those risks.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kojima could probably just give a blank check for the rest of his career, I imagine, from anybody,
But he's still trying stuff. I mean, look at Death Stranding. That whole concept is a risk.
A cutie booty delivery duty game,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not enough of those out there. I'm waiting for other genres to follow suit. Warren Spector is another guy I really look up to. I don't even totally know why. I just love. Deus Ex obviously, and the Shock games were revolutionary. But there's just something about like the way that guy. You speak to the thing about passion, Scott. Like this is the way that guy talks about video games in the industry that is just. I could tell the guy really cares.
Right.
And I can tell he wants to do new things, but he's stuck in the more American system of risk aversion, but his dream game of like just making one city block in incredibly high detail. It's just I wish that dream could come true for him. I would want to play that.
Yeah. Remember Peter Molyneux?
Sure. He would promise that game and then not deliver it.
Right.
He would say he would say it would be every city in America in one game.
But he was so passionate about it. Like watching him deliver that stuff, I just wanted to believe him so much because I wanted whatever he was promising to come to light, just so that he could be happy more than me. You know what I mean? Like he was so passionate about what he was doing, it just never quite came to fruition.
Definitely no, and I think he vanished into the ether. That Peter Molyneux.
Yeah. I think the last thing he did, didn't he do that thing where it was like you had to pick away at something and there was a prize in the middle and that winner got to like be part of the development of the next game or something like that?
I think they got like 10% profit share on the next game too or something, but then the next game never came out, so it doesn't matter.
I want to interview that kid.
Yeah, that's good. That would be fun to track down that person.
That would be really interesting to find out. So, tell us about that experience and what happened. Because
you're right, yeah. Molyneux, that was he was definitely an ideas man. Mm-hmm. In terms of like a true inspiration, like somebody I really like wish I could be, would be Amy Hennig comes to mind, especially her writing, because she has run the gamut of genres. She wrote Legacy of Kain, which is this Shakespearean mythic epic, and then also writes these fun pulpy Uncharted adventures. She has such range and such command over dialogue. Like you fall in love with those characters she writes so quickly, right? Even the first Uncharted, whilst many people say it's not a great game, but like we all came away loving Nathan and Elena in only 5 or 6 hours of story. That's a pretty special skill.
And I love the first Uncharted.
Me too. It's I'm with you.
And the shooting never got. Everyone was like, "Oh, you just shoot so many guys." I never got tired of doing it. It felt fun. It felt good. I don't mean that in like a sadistic way.
I never saw the problem either. Well, we're also Gears of War fans, I guess, so we like pop and stop gunplay.
That's true. That may be part of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure I don't want to ramble all day, so I'll pass it over to CB. But I'm sure more of these heroes will show up over time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, man, I've got a small list as always.
Right,
it's never small.
Well, yeah. Nolan Bushnell.
All right,
Atari himself.
I mean, the Godfather of video games. Dude wasn't afraid to take risks, and great. He was a little eccentric and crazy, but I mean,
didn't he follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, like for a little bit, it was weird.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I was like, this is kind of cool. But yeah, Nolan Bushnell, Warren Robinette, single-handedly creating Easter eggs and bringing
adventure.
For adventure, but single-handedly like bringing bringing developers into the public eye because for the most part they were kind of overlooked.
Did they even have their names on like the back of the box?
No.
Huh.
No.
It's so weird to think about that, like developers not getting credit for their work.
But back then it just seemed like such a meaningless thing because it was thankless work back then.
Just so weird. Sorry, I was just thinking about the credits thing. Like, because even you remember the first Metal Gear Solid where all the voice actors had different names than their actual human names.
Yeah,
crediting used to be so weird in this industry.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot.
Yeah, bizarre. And I guess we have the Adventure Easter egg to thank for that.
Yeah, Warren Robinette. As far as like some newer ones, Steve Wiebe.
Oh yeah,
really?
I love Steve Wiebe.
He's taking it to the man.
Yeah, he's awesome. Screw Billy. Like
it's so funny hearing CB like say, "Screw this guy, screw that guy," and then we meet him in person at Midwest Gaming Classic, and it's like, "Hey, what's up, man? Hey,
you remember though? Like I barely talked to Billy. Like I was still pretty bitter about that. But Walter Day, I still have a little bit of respect for Walter because when you meet him, like he genuinely is like a really nice dude. Billy, it's all about him. But the longer it's been going on, like Walter just really seems to like be all about Billy and screw everybody else. So it's making me a little upset about that. John St. John, of course. I mean,
dude, you consider him an idol?
Yeah. I mean, we follow each other on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, you guys are buds.
Yeah, he's legitimately a cool guy, and he's not afraid to speak his mind about things that make him angry or things that he thinks are wrong with the industry. So, and the same goes for another one, John. Like you said earlier, John Romero. I love John Romero. I mean, another guy that's not afraid to take risks. I mean, Scott, you read Masters of Doom, and their whole thing like we want to bring Super Nintendo Nintendo games to PC. And so they coded the entire first level of Super Mario Brothers and sent it to Nintendo, and Nintendo's like, thanks, but don't do that again, please.
It's one of the most.
That story was fascinating.
That's like the standout part of that book to me.
It was legitimately like cool.
What a baller move.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, they were this good.
Right, because environment scrolling like that was considered impossible on PC at the time, and they were like, "You want to bet?
We did it."
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the video of the game that they actually developed? I can't remember what they called the game, but like if you watch it, it looks like a Mario game, but it's going up vertically instead of horizontally.
The Commander Keen one.
Yeah. Right.
No, the Commander Keen was Cliff Bleszinski, wasn't? No. That was it. That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
I
think it was
not Commander Keen. I did
Jazz Jackrabbit.
That
was supposed to be
yeah. No, the Mario knockoff, the Mario ripoff that they made Like like if you go look a video of it on YouTube or whatever, they made Mario levels that not only go horizontally but also go vertically, like straight up. And like that wasn't done until Super Mario Brothers 2, and even that wasn't a Mario game. So it really wasn't done in a real Mario game until the Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
So, they're doing it on PC. It's just a really cool story.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. One of my other heroes I got to talk to on this show, Tom Kalinske.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the day that like that came to fruition. Like you watched me geek out about it.
Yeah,
because
that was pretty cool.
I mean, there's a dude that like legitimately took on the industry with zero video game background, and like brought the fight to Nintendo to the fact that like it was a whole phenomenon.
Yeah, he was doing Barbie and Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
and then made Sega a thing. Kind of nuts.
Like a failing company. So to me, that's legitimately amazing. And then Phil Spencer is another one. Granted, yes, he is a suit, but he is like a suit that legitimately cares about gamers and gaming.
Yeah, Phil hurts my brain because I want to just be like, no, he's a suit, but he also just seems like a nice guy. Like, yeah, it's even this like business decisions of like buying Call of Duty, but making sure, or buying Minecraft, make sure it's multi-platform, or buying Call of Duty, make sure it's multi-platform, or even like, so they make a Minecraft spin-off, but they still put it out on the other people's platforms. Like, he just seems like a nice guy. Remastering Voodoo Vince because he loves it.
Yeah, he was, to me, like, he's in a class all his own.
He is a unique individual because he has to be one of 7 Voodoo Vince fans, and he's like, I'm going to pay a whole studio to remake this game, Like, he seems...
It's nice to have that kind of power.
But it speaks to, like, he does care.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, for him, like, he's in a class all his own. Like, I absolutely, like, adore almost everything he does. And then you guys all know that I have like a major man crush on Todd Howard.
Right.
Yes.
God Howard himself.
So, yes. I mean, but he does seem like the kind of guy that in person, like, he would be a complete jackass in person.
Yes.
I really hope he's not listening to this
now,
show.
But
you heard me though. Like, I profess my undying love to Todd Howard. But he legitimately just does seem like he could be a jackass in person.
He seems like he has a Ken Levine personality, like perfectionist personality, where I can't imagine everyone has a good time working with them, but you're always going to get the very best product.
Yeah.
Which is funny considering he runs Bethesda.
Right.
Yeah. He actually reminds me more of like a John Carmack, where it's either this or not at all.
I feel like he has a little more charisma.
yeah. Carmack's kind of a weirdo. But Todd Howard, I didn't learn this about him until recently, but he sits in on every Elder Scrolls meeting, like, to make sure everything lines up with the lore and the continuity, and like every update that goes into the mobile game or whatever, like, he's there for all those meetings. Like, so you want to talk about passion? Like, this guy's been shepherding Elder Scrolls since the 90s or whatever. Like, this, and he has this love for that universe. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a cool passion.
Legitimately, like, and that's why I love, like, I was absolutely ecstatic when they were like Bethesda and Xbox teaming up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, 2 of my favorite people. And then I want to give one last shout out because I would have never had this opportunity if it weren't for the show. But Melissa Hutchinson.
Oh yeah,
all right,
Clementine.
Just sitting down with Mel at R2V2.
Mel, you guys are that close.
I've talked to her a few times since then.
But
sitting down with her at like R2V2, like, legitimately, like, there is one person who utterly adores and cares about every single person that's in her fan base. I mean, Sissy and Courtney too. But I mean, it blows me away that somebody with like that level of notoriety for just like their character, and they're like, oh yeah, like, they'll just sit down and talk with you forever. Whereas, like, if I ran into somebody like Tom Cruise on the street, they'd give you the finger and walk away.
No, not Tom Cruise, man. He's a legend. Come on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like Keanu Reeves, I can see that, but
Well, Keanu Reeves would probably buy you lunch.
buy a lunch, sit down, like, oh, tell me about your life.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a movie about it.
Right. And then you ask him about him. He's like, I don't want to talk about me. I'm more interested in you. You're like, this guy.
But see, to me, like that was the same vibe that I got talking with Melissa. It's just she just like sat down and just stares at you and just like, tell me everything. And I'm like, you are like legitimately one of the coolest people in the world.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
All right, I'm going to go into my list, and I'm sure you guys are going to roll your eyes because I mention this person quite often, but the person that I consider a personal hero and the biggest reason why I got into podcasting in general is not even someone that's actually in the games industry, although he's done some voice work in some games, but he's not like a developer. He's he's a media person like me. You guys know where I'm going with this probably, but Jeff Kanata, who was on a podcast with Garnet Lee back in the day called, was it just One Up? The One Up podcast?
Yeah, I think it was the One Up Show.
The One Up Show, and then they did Weekend Confirmed together, and Jeff now does his own podcast called DLC with Christian Spicer, and like Jeff is the guy that made me realize, because I was listening to a lot of gaming podcasts back in the day, and I got so tired of people being just negative. Like whenever they reviewed a game, all they did was talk about the bad things about a game and what needed to be better, and nobody was celebrating it. And Jeff kind of came in and gave a positive spin about everything and was still entertaining. So I've always looked up to Jeff. I actually wrote about him in a book that I was asked to write a chapter for as the inspiration for doing podcasting. And I hope someday I can sit here and do an episode with Jeff, because that would be a dream. I was this close. We had one listener that actually knew him or had a connection with him, and I actually talked to him on Twitter a little bit, and we were going to try to set something up, but never got it to work. And so, Jeff, if you're listening, I would love to do a podcast with you sometime, and thank you face to face. I actually sent him a copy of that book I told you about, and had him sign my chapter, and he sent it back to me. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. We've been at E3 together. I tried to, offer to buy him a beer or something, but so that's a big one. My other one that you mentioned already is Shigeru Miyamoto. It's hard not to idolize that guy because he made games because of his love for his childhood. Like when you hear him talk about why he made The Legend of Zelda, is because he based it on when he was a kid, he'd go out and go cave exploring and just try to make up his own adventures, things that we did as a kid. And obviously I relate to his love for that kind of thing because I love The Legend of Zelda. So that's a real big one for me. The other ones you guys already mentioned, Phil Spencer. It's easy to look up to him just because he seems so passionate. Just anybody in the industry that loves what they do, because look, I love my job. I love teaching, but there are moments where I get very frustrated, especially with the way that, politics are a thing. I don't necessarily mean like government politics, but politics are in any workplace, and it just things don't always go the way you want them to. But anybody that is legitimately making a living doing stuff like this is someone that I idolize and I look up to and wish I could do that. I mean, there are people that still encourage me to go that route. Zack is one of them. I think I've sent links with job applications to write for this or write for that, and instead of saying I'll go apply, he's like, Scott, you should do that.
Yeah, you should you should apply too.
Yeah, I think it's a little late. It's too late for me, my son.
Never too late.
No, it's not.
It's never too late.
But yeah, anybody that in the video games industry that just you can just feel their passion, and they just look like they love their job so much. I look up to them, and I strive to have that same passion and fervor to keep going, regardless of whatever is thrown in front of you. So anyway, that's the ones that we had on our list. Let's go to Facebook. CB, since you actually called out this same person, I'm going to let you start with Sean Coates' comment over on Facebook.
Yeah. Sean Coates writes in with Tom Kalinske. First of all, I'm super jealous you guys got to interview him some years back, but also he's fresh on my mind as I'm currently on my second read through, or rather listen through, of Console Wars. The fact that he became Sega CEO with hardly any deep knowledge of the industry and was still able to make Sega what it was. At the same time, also fighting an uphill climb, not only against the giant that was Nintendo, but also the higher-ups at Sega of Japan, who were constantly undermining his decisions to the detriment of the company as a whole. This, of course, would ultimately lead Sega into leaving the hardware business. He was also the reason we all remember Sega so fondly. Same can be said for other senior higher-ups at Sega of America at the time. No one at SOA wanted to release the 32X. Everyone thought it was a bad idea to do the surprise release of the Saturn when it clearly wasn't ready. Those were all decisions by SOJ. Lastly, I want to give an honorable mention to Ralph Baer. If it weren't for him, none of us would be here talking about video games.
Yeah, there's some argument about whether or not Ralph Baer or, man, name is escaping me already. Who is on your list?
Nolan Bushnell?
Yeah, Nolan Bushnell or Ralph Baer would to be considered the father of video games. There's always everybody arguing about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's going to go round. I have respect for both of them.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So,
wasn't Ralph Baer's patent filed first? Doesn't that kind of automatically make him the father?
Yeah, but I mean,
that feels like a technicality.
Yeah.
It falls into the same camp as like Thomas Edison versus Nikolai Tesla, though I do think Nikolai Tesla was in the right.
Sure. Well, that does seem to be the way history treats those two. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, just for anybody who hasn't read Console Wars, read it or listen to it through audiobook. It is an absolutely fascinating look into the time frame that was like the late 80s into the 90s.
Yeah, I need to. I actually own the physical or maybe a digital copy of the print, but I don't know if that one's come to like audio.
It has.
Audio? Has it? Okay.
Yeah, because I've listened to it twice.
Oh, it's that good, huh?
Also, Sean just told you he was listening to it, Scott. Perk up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But I remember.
It is legitimately that good.
Okay. I will add it to the list. We had a couple comments as well from some other people on Discord. Kevin Honigford says, Tom Kalinske, it still burns badly when I think about the downfall of Sega in the late 90s and early 2000s. If only the mothership could have just gotten out of their own gosh darned way. He didn't say gosh darned, just paraphrasing. And Mark Szymanski says, I'm in agreement with Tom Kalinske. I am in firm belief that without Sega hiring him, we wouldn't have had the video game competition, quality growth, and the return of the video game boom.
Very good. A lot of people out there think that Sega can do what Nintendo don't.
It's true.
Yeah. Zach, you've read through it, haven't you?
No, actually, I haven't. I watched the documentary, but I have not listened to Console Wars or read or listened to Console Wars.
Because I know sometimes you like to stick it to the man.
I do. I've been known.
One of the best chapter in that book is when they took their fight to Walmart.
Yeah, I think I would have to put that on my list. Especially now that I'm kind of tearing through audiobooks left and right with my new job, so it's got to go on the list for sure.
Is that one that's like told in narrative form too? Am I remembering that correctly?
It is from like both sides, because like it kind of talks about everything that happened with Nintendo and like their CEO at the time, and then Tom.
Gotcha.
And then they bring in the other players like Philips and Sony, and it's fascinating.
I can't wait. I need a break from the series that I'm reading. I'm about to finish the third book in the series that I started, and I did not realize that there were 19 books in this series. So I got a long row ahead of me.
What series is this?
The Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind.
Oh. All right.
So you just stop at the current one you're on, listen to Console Wars, then come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I need just a little bit of a break in there.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
all right, Zach, you're up.
Yeah, moving over to Discord here with Rusty. Says, can I just say Grant Kirkhope for music composition? You probably know his music even if you think you don't. I'd also say Koji Kondo, but that's an easy one. That is an easy one. But no, of course, Koji Kondo, obviously an icon. Grant Kirkhope as well. You know, who's a Uematsu? Oh man,
What's that?
Trying to remember. I'm having a complete brain malfunction on the composer of Final Fantasy right now.
Oh, I am not good at remembering those names, so
I'm terrible at it too.
All right, good job, us.
Yep.
Grant Kirkhope,
sometimes we win.
Grant Kirkhope did a lot of the Civilization, Beyond Earth games, Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning, Viva Pinata, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I don't even know this game. Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z?
Yeah.
Why have I never heard of that?
Dude, it's well, it's a Ninja Gaiden spin-off, and it's from the director, or one of the people involved was the creator of Tomb Raider, but it's also just an absolutely terrible game.
Oh, well, there you go.
Nobuo
and GoldenEye.
Nobuo Uematsu, Final Fantasy. Thank you.
There you go. Well, yeah, GoldenEye 007.
Of course,
on
yeah.
Nintendo 64.
Well, he was Rare's staff composer for many years.
Man, that pause music in GoldenEye was gold.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see that guy on YouTube, or not YouTube, but on TikTok that does the he kind of walks in like a big shot with sunglasses and says, "All right, we got this game based on the movie," and then they show the guy like quote unquote composing it, and that's obviously that's not how it was made, but that pause music for GoldenEye is really good. All right, last comment on Discord comes from David Newman, who says, "As bad as it may sound, I'm not someone who really pays attention to developers or names or many industry giants, so it says something when I can ever recognize their name, and Phil Spencer, whose name is mentioned often, that I'll pay attention to. Hard to know how much are his ideas, but Phil Spencer, at least as the frontman, has been such a big influence in gaming the past 7 to 8 years. His willingness to adapt to the climate of gaming and at least greenlight Xbox Game Pass will still have a lasting impact on the medium. It has forced Sony to come up with some competition for it, Nintendo developing some form of subscription service, as well as developers creating their own version." So yeah, pretty much echoing what CB already said about that. So
what's incredible about Phil Spencer's tenure is that everybody loves him, and also Xbox hasn't had a influential exclusive during his entire reign.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Like a new one, you mean, right? Like something new?
Right, yeah. Something released in his time.
It legitimately, I fear the day he leaves.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, I especially worry about what happens to Game Pass when he leaves, because you look at all the other subscription services out there and how they're just increasingly slimy year after year. You know, it's inevitable that Game Pass gets to be, just that way as well.
I mean, we have all kind of expected Game Pass to go up in price significantly, and I feel like it hasn't.
It hasn't yet, but I'm saying, with Phil Spencer, I believe that he is looking for quality and giving developers idea, but with somebody else at the helm, I'm waiting for the
100% markup,
or the type of game that gets developed. Co-op is mandatory in every game because we want people to have this game on Game Pass, because then their friend will want to play it, but oh, we can't play co-op unless you have Game Pass. Just crummy moves like that are inevitable.
Yeah. I feel like he's just the kind of guy that just stems the tide of all the trash.
That's the way it feels. So he could be wrong. He could be just a complete a-hole behind the scenes, but the projection is of the nicest dude in the industry.
That man deserves an honorary lifetime Oscar if that's the case.
Fair enough.
Because that is some legitimately good acting then.
Oh, you know who else? And you might laugh at me for saying this, but I would probably say Jeff Keighley. Because, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody as passionate about games.
I would have agreed with you 5 years ago.
I would have agreed with you until the last Video Game Awards, when he seemed so horribly out of touch with everything going on.
Yeah, he is increasingly unaware of what people are interested in. And he also seems weirdly dedicated at making sure Hollywood is happy with him.
Yes.
That's true.
But you would be hard pressed to find somebody who can put up that much happiness about the industry, even in the state that it's in.
That's
so
true.
another Oscar contender.
Right. And I guess, part of it is also just there are so many showcases and shows like that now that Keighley is, I guess, here's the next Fortnite character. Like what's left for him to show off.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Our heroes in the industry. Next week's topic is still somewhat up in the air. I'm still waiting to hear back from a special guest that wants to talk about online matchmaking and toxicity in gaming. So that may be the topic next week. So stay tuned to the social medias for what that topic is going to be. I'm looking forward to that. But that is going to do it for this episode of the Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words or recommendations before we are done for the night?
Oh man, not really. I think I might have talked about it last week, but the Sandman on Netflix is absolutely incredible. But that's about it. They dropped a bonus episode, which was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really, I haven't really been up to a whole lot, unfortunately.
Have you watched The She-Hulk yet?
I have not, no.
I've heard surprisingly positive things about it, considering the negativity that was going into it. I have not seen it yet, but
I think I've just been so disappointed by the majority of Disney Plus's offerings of original content that I don't have the enthusiasm to go run and check it out. And also, like, dude, there's something MCU related every single week now.
It does feel like that way. Did you ever check out Ms. Marvel? I don't remember.
No, that one I do want to check out because I've heard it's kind of fun, but I would have to wait for some time to pass because I really love the comic book character, and she is so far removed from the comic book that it is kind of hard to. It's hard for me as a comic reader to recognize it as the same character.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for being here, man. As always, it's awesome to sit and chat games with you. Looking forward to the next time we can do that already. CB, how about you?
I've probably mentioned on here before, but I'm going to mention again. Prey. That movie gets so much better with subsequent watches.
I finally
that's really
watched Prey. It's awesome.
It legitimately is.
It's easily, it's easily the second best Predator movie, but it really does feel neck and neck with the original for me. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna have to watch that now.
And I will tell you, Zach, I've watched it 3 times now.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And it just keeps giving because there's hidden stuff in there. It just feels so good. The pacing is great.
There's an Easter egg to Predator 2 in that. It's not even an Easter egg because they highlight it, but it's dumb because it felt like such obvious fan service, but it still made me grin because I love Predator 2 so much.
I think I watched half of that with UCB and I just couldn't.
Predator 2 is rough.
Oh, I like Predator 2 a lot.
I'm not saying I don't like it, but it is rough.
It's not as well made as Predator or Prey, but I like Danny Glover a lot, and so seeing him go up against a Predator is a lot of fun for me.
Does he ever say I'm too old for this stuff?
No.
No, but he does do the "You're one ugly mother."
Oh, does he?
Yeah. I would actually put Predator 2 above Predators.
Yeah, I would as well.
And they're all better than The Predator.
Yeah, most movies are.
Yeah.
Most movies.
That was so bad.
The movie that says autism is just the next step in human evolution.
What?
Yeah.
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 That's the message they send with the movie.
All right.
Seems like a pretty disrespectful choice, but all right.
Yeah. Anyway, as for me, everybody that I have, not everybody, but many people that I've talked to have been praising the way that Better Call Saul ended, which ended like a week or 2 ago. And I tried to watch the show back when it first aired, the first season, and I just could not get past the first season for some reason. But because everyone was talking so highly of it, I decided to go back and give it another shot. And guys, I don't know what I was thinking, not liking the show. I've watched an entire season already. Like, I'm legitimately looking forward to, going going to bed so I can like start watching Saul before I fall asleep. I watched like 5 episodes in one night the other night. Just
wow,
it's really good. I'm in the part where everyone says that it's really dry and doesn't get really good till season 3. I am 100% invested, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. It's going to be a bummer because like the last season is not on Netflix right now, so I'm going to get caught up and not be able to watch the final season. So I may have to go.
What's the final season on?
Netflix.
Just AMC?
No, just AMC. Yeah, which I don't have. Do you have AMC?
I do.
Oh, all right.
I was also going to say, if you're burning through it this quickly, I'm sure you could get it in under a month. You just bought a month of AMC Plus.
Yeah, or maybe if they have a trial or something.
Yeah,
like
they could just tear it up.
Just tear it up in a week. But you remember Mike in Breaking Bad?
Of course.
So like,
yeah, like one of the best characters.
Dude, he's even better in this. Like, there's like he's a good actor, but he is great in Better Call Saul. There is a moment, and I don't want to give anything away, but there is a moment where I was just staring at the screen, going, holy crap, I'm seeing a completely different side of Mike. There's really interesting moving parts going on. Michael McKean is in this show. I don't know if you guys know that, but his whole who he is and what's going on with him is fascinating, and the show does a really good job of like front loading things that happen later on and explaining how it got there, or it doesn't spoon feed you stuff. It kind of piecemeals the stuff as you go, and I just really, really like it. And if it gets better, like everyone says, I just feel like I'm in for a real treat. So, for those that have not watched Better Call Saul, it's worth getting onto. It's really good. It's a little bit of a slow burn. I would say that it's not as in your face like Breaking Bad is. Like, not as much fantastical stuff happens. It's a lot of lawyery stuff, but it's really good. So, highly recommend it. Anyway. That's going to do it. Thanks so much for listening. I would like to remind you once again that The Gaming Outsider is produced by Mr. Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.